Welcome to the Daily Current Affairs by CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss the important articles from the Hindu, the Indian Express and PIB. Displayed are the list of topics which we are going to discuss in today's video. The first article of the day says that the Supreme Court has taken Suo Moto Cognizance of the Kolkata doctor rape murder incident and lists the case for August 20th. In this context, let us talk about Suo Moto Cognizance. So what is it actually? See, in law, the term Suo Moto Cognizance refers to the court's authority to hear cases on its own initiative without any formal complaint or petition being submitted by any party. Significantly, according to the Articles 32 and 226 of the Indian Constitution, the Supreme Court and the High Courts in India have the ability to take Suo Moto Cognizance of cases. So, what are the types of cases where Suo Moto can be applied? See, Suo Moto Cognizance can be applied in the following situations. Firstly, the cases involving contempt of court, which may include deliberate disobedience of the court orders or conduct that embarrasses court and can be taken Suo Moto Cognizance by courts. Secondly, the court may reopen a closed case by taking Suo Moto Cognizance in fresh, substantial evidence was discovered. Thirdly, based on the information from the affected parties or media reports, courts may launch inquiries or order investigations in the cases where there is an apparent injustice being done to any person or a group of society. Then, the Suo Moto Cognizance may be exercised in situations when a citizen's fundamental rights have been violated. Lastly, the court may get involved in the situations that affect the broad segment of the community or have significant amount of public interest. Now, moving on to the second article of the day, it says that the Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Saturday handed over the citizenship certificates to 188 Hindu refugees in Gujarat under the Citizenship Amendment Act, in short called the CAA, and said that the law has no provision to take away anyone's citizenship. In this context, let us talk about the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. See, the regulation grants citizenships to 6 minorities who are Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians fleeing religious persecution from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh. Further, the citizenship will be granted to those who entered India from these countries on or before 31st December of 2014. Know that the CAA of 2019 amends the Citizenship Act of 1955. So, the amendment relaxes the residence requirement for naturalization of these migrants from 11 years to 5 years. Notably, the CAA exempts the members of 6 communities from any criminal case and deportation under the Foreigners Act of 1946 and the Passport Act of 1920. Now, if we have to talk about the exceptions to this act, see, the provisions on the citizenship for illegal migrants will not apply to 2 categories, where the states protected by the Inner Line Permit and the areas covered under the 6th schedule of the Constitution. Now, moving on to the third article, it says that the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSSAI, has launched a project to assess the microplastic contamination in food products and develop methods for its detection. In this context, let us talk about FSSAI and also briefly about the microplastics. See, it is an autonomous body established under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of the Government of India. Know that the FSSAI has been established under the Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006, which is a consolidating statute related to food safety and regulations in India. See, the vision of FSSAI is to build a new India by enabling citizens to have safe and nutritious food, prevent diseases, and lead a healthy and happy life. Further, if we have to talk about its mission, it is to set globally benchmark standards for food, encourage and ensure that food businesses adhere to these standards, adopt good manufacturing and hygiene practices, and ultimately enable citizens to access safe and right food. Now, if we have to talk about the functions of FSSAI, firstly, FSSAI is responsible for protecting and promoting public health through the regulation and supervision of the food safety. Then it lays down standards and guidelines in relation to articles of food and provides for licensing, registration and accreditation of the food business operators. Thirdly, anyone selling or importing food in India needs a food license issued by FSSAI. Next, FSSAI also directly monitors the compliance of food regulations, especially in the area of food imports to India. Further, it officers of the FSSAI carry out food import controls and ensure that they contain no harmful ingredients. So to do this, they send selected test products from the import to accredited laboratories for inspection. Then the FSSAI is also responsible for accreditation of food testing laboratories throughout India. Lastly, it is responsible for the food certification in India. Now, what are the microplastics? See, microplastics are tiny bits of various types of plastic found in the environment. Know that the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the European Chemical Agency define microplastics are the plastics which are less than 5 mm in length. Now, moving on to the next article, it says that the foreign portfolio investors, in short called the FPIs, are now engaged in the strategy of selling stocks in the stock market and investing through the initial public offering route. In this context, let us talk about FPI and later about the initial public offering. See, the FPI refers to the purchase and holding of a wide array of foreign financial assets by investors seeking to invest in a country outside of their own. Know that these foreign portfolio investors have access to a range of investment instruments such as stocks, bonds, mutual funds, derivatives, fixed deposits, etc. Significantly, FPI generally intends to invest money into the foreign country's stock market to generate a quick return. Note that in India, the foreign portfolio investment is regulated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India. Further, FPI in India refers to the investment groups or the foreign institutional investors and qualified foreign investors. Now, if we have to talk about the initial public offerings, in short called the IPO, it is a type of issue where an unlisted company raises capital by making a fresh issue of securities or offering its existing securities for sale to the public for the first time. Now, who are allowed to invest in an IPO? See, qualified institutional buyers is a category of investors that includes foreign portfolio investors, mutual funds, commercial banks, insurance companies, pension funds, etc. Know that the qualified institutional buyers are those institutional investors who are generally perceived to possess expertise and the financial capacities to evaluate and invest in the capital markets. The next article says that the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has been continuously monitoring the monkeypox situation with the Principal Secretary, directing that surveillance be enhanced and measures be taken for prompt detection of cases. In this context, let us talk about various aspects related to monkeypox. So, what is a monkeypox? It is a viral zoonotic disease and is identified as pox-like disease among the monkeys. Hence, it is named as monkeypox. Further, it is a self-limiting viral infection caused by orthopox virus and it causes fever, enlarged lymph nodes and a painful rash that forms blisters and then crusts over. Though self-limiting, it can lead to death, especially among the children and those with weak immune systems. Now, how is it transmitted? See, monkeypox spreads from one person to another through close contact with someone who has a rash, including face-to-face, skin-to-skin, mouth-to-mouth, or mouth-to-skin contact, including sexual contact. Then, if we have to talk about the symptoms, see the first invasion period, which is between the 0 to 5 days, is characterized by fever, headache, and lymph node swelling, which is the last telltale sign. Next, the skin eruptions show up within 2 days of fever. Then, the rash is more concentrated on the face, but can also be found in the palm and sole of the feet. Further, it also affects the oral mucous membrane, the conjunctiva, cornea of the eye, and the genital area. Moving on, what is a test for detecting the monkeypox? See, since these are DNA viruses, we need a PCR test. Notably, there is no effective vaccine which is available for monkeypox infection. The next article says that the Taiwanese electronics manufacturing giant Foxconn is working on plans to set up a battery energy storage system unit in India, according to its chairman. In this context, let us talk about the battery energy storage system, in short called the BESS. See, this BESS is a system that stores electrical energy in the batteries for later use. Significantly, it aims to enable the use of stored renewable energy during the peak hours, promoting round-the-clock renewable energy supply. Further, the scheme supports India's ambition to achieve 50% of its energy requirements through renewable and non-fossil energy sources by 2030, while also contributing to the carbon emissions reduction. Now, what are the various components of BESS? So, a typical BESS includes four components, which are firstly battery cells, which are the basic units of the system where energy is stored chemically. Secondly, battery management system, which is a system that manages the charging and discharging of batteries, ensuring the safety and efficiency of the storage system. Thirdly, the power conservation system, which converts electrical energy from AC to DC and vice versa, facilitating the integration of the storage system with a grid. Lastly, the control system that manages the operation of the BESS, optimizing performance and interaction with the power grid. The next article says that the residents of the Great Nicobar Island, who will be affected by the land acquisition for the Greenfield International Airport project, have raised demands for a fair and comprehensive compensation package after a social impact assessment report was submitted before the UT administration last month. Now let us get into the details of it. Firstly, talking about the Nicobar group of islands. See, they are a group of islands of India located in the Bay of Bengal. Know that the Great Nicobar is the largest island and the southernmost island in the group, which is only 147 km away from the Sumatra island of Indonesia. Further, India's southernmost part, Indira Point, is located at the southern tip of the Great Nicobar. Significantly, the indigenous ethnic groups are the Nicobarese and the Shompen. Also, it hosts numerous endangered and endemic species, including the giant leatherback turtle, Nicobar megapode, Great Nicobar crake, Nicobar crab-eating macaque, and Nicobar tree screw. Now, moving on to see about the Greenfield Airport projects. See, these projects are aviation facilities built from the ground upon the undeveloped land or the empty greenfields. Further, the term Greenfield emphasizes the airport's environmental friendly characteristics, which are designed to minimize the impact on nature during the construction and commissioning. Significantly, the Indian government introduced a Greenfield Airports policy in 2008 to provide guidelines, procedures, and steps for establishing Greenfield airports throughout the country. Note that the policy goals include 3 points. Firstly, diverting air traffic from existing urban airports to locations outside the city centers. Secondly, reducing the pollution and environmental strain. And lastly, combating the climate change. Some greenfield airports which have been operationalized are Durgapur, Shirdi, Kannur, etc. The next article says that with the refining capacity of almost 257 million tons per annum, India, the world's third largest consumer of crude oil and also one of its top importers, is a net exporter of fuels and other petroleum products. Also, the export of crude oil from India, however, is not permitted. So, if we talk about the major oil suppliers to India, firstly, Russia is currently the India's largest supplier of oil. Also, Ural's crude oil grade of Russia has become a cornerstone of India's energy diversification efforts. Then, the Iraq is the second largest source of crude oil supplier to India. Notably, India's efforts to diversify oil procurement channels aim to mitigate geopolitical risks and ensure a stable energy supply. Next, Saudi Arabia is India's third largest oil supplier. Further, Abu Dhabi is India's fourth largest supplier of crude oil. Then, many initiatives have also been taken to cut down the crude oil imports. See, in March 2015, the Prime Minister of India inaugurated the Urja Sangam 2015, which is India's third and biggest global hydrocarbon meet aimed at shaping India's energy security. Through this, all the stakeholders were urged to increase the domestic production of oil and gas to reduce import dependence from 77% to 67% by the year 2022 and further to 50% by the year 2030. Next, the government has also introduced various policies for increasing the domestic production of oil and also natural gas under the production sharing contract regime, discovered small field policy, hydrocarbon exploration and licensing policy, and new exploration licensing policy. Also, the Government of India promotes an ethanol blending program with the aim of reducing the country's dependence on crude oil imports, cutting carbon emissions and boosting farmers' incomes. Then the government has advanced a target for 20% ethanol blending in petrol, also called E20 to 2025 from the year 2030. So we have discussed 8 articles today from both Hindu and Indian Express. We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.